Walk into any suburban home on a Saturday morning, and you'll witness something extraordinary that nobody talks about. A man, sitting at his kitchen table drinking coffee that's gone cold because he was interrupted 4 times before he could finish it, staring at a list of tasks that will consume his entire weekend, knowing that even if he completes everything on that list, there will be another list tomorrow and another the day after, stretching infinitely into a future where his time is never his own again. He's not a prisoner in the traditional sense. There are no guards, no locked doors, no physical barriers preventing him from walking out. But he can't leave. He built this prison himself, brick by brick, choice by choice, until the walls were so high and so thick that escape became unthinkable. He proposed. He said, "I do." He bought the house, he had the children. Every decision seemed reasonable at the time, even desirable. But somehow, through a process he didn't fully understand while it was happening, these decisions accumulated into a structure that now defines the absolute limits of his existence. Nietzsche understood this better than almost anyone, because he spent his life studying how people create their own suffering through choices that seem virtuous, but are actually forms of self-destruction. The married man's prison isn't imposed from outside. It's not something done to him by society or women or bad luck. It's something he did to himself, and that's what makes it so devastating. You can rage against external oppression. You can fight back against forces trying to control you. But how do you fight against a prison you built with your own hands, locked with keys you threw away, defended with arguments you still believe? Nietzsche wrote about slave morality versus master morality, and marriage is the perfect example of how slave morality operates. Slave morality convinces you that your chains are actually freedom, that your imprisonment is actually security, that the systematic destruction of your autonomy is actually maturity and responsibility. The married man has internalized this so completely that he'll defend his prison to anyone who questions it. He'll tell you he's happy. He'll insist he chose this freely. He'll claim that marriage and family are the ultimate fulfillment of human potential. And he believes it, or at least he's convinced himself he believes it, because the alternative, admitting that he's locked himself into a life of endless obligation that serves everyone except him, that's too painful to confront. So he practices what Nietzsche called ressentiment, the slow poison of suppressed authentic feeling, where you can't express what you really think or feel because doing so would shatter the entire structure of meaning you've built your life around. The married man lives in ressentiment the way fish live in water. It's his constant environment, the medium through which he experiences everything, but he can't see it because seeing it would mean admitting what he's done to himself. Let me describe the architecture of this prison, because it's more sophisticated than most people realize. The walls aren't made of concrete and steel. They're made of obligation, expectation, financial entanglement, and social judgment. The first wall is financial. The married man has structured his entire economic life around supporting others. The house payment, the car payments, the insurance, the groceries, the kids' activities, the endless stream of expenses that never stops. He can't quit his job because people depend on his income. He can't take a pay cut to pursue something more meaningful because the budget has no slack. He can't take financial risks because failure doesn't just affect him. Every dollar he earns is already allocated to maintaining the prison. He's not building wealth. He's not investing in his future. He's paying the ongoing costs of his confinement, and if he stops paying even for a moment, everything collapses. The second wall is temporal. His time is not his own. Every hour is spoken for. Work hours to earn the money, family hours to fulfill his obligations, maintenance hours to keep the machinery running. There's no time for pursuing passions, for deep work, for the kind of focused intensity that leads to mastery or achievement. His life has been fragmented into tiny pieces, each claimed by someone or something else, and the fragments that remain are too small to do anything meaningful with. The third wall is emotional. He's responsible for everyone's feelings. His wife's happiness is his job. His children's well-being is his burden. He can't prioritize his own emotional needs because that would be selfish. He's trapped in a system where everyone else's feelings matter more than his own, where his job is to manage and absorb others' emotions, while suppressing his authentic responses. The fourth wall is social. If he leaves, If he admits the prison is unbearable, he faces devastating social consequences. He'll be seen as a failure, a deadbeat, someone who abandoned his responsibilities. His family will shame him. His friends will distance themselves. Society will punish him for breaking the contract he signed. So he stays, not because he wants to, but because the social cost of escape is too high to bear. Here's what Nietzsche understood about this kind of self-imposed imprisonment. It's not an accident, and it's not inevitable. It's the result of accepting values you didn't create, following scripts you didn't write, building a life according to someone else's blueprint, and then being shocked when that life doesn't fit who you actually are. The married man didn't wake up one day and decide, based on deep self-knowledge and clear understanding of his nature, that he wanted to spend his life in service to a family unit. He followed the script. He did what he was supposed to do. He achieved the milestones that culture told him would lead to happiness. Find a woman, fall in love, get married, buy a house, have kids. And each milestone felt like progress, like he was doing life correctly, like he was becoming more complete. But what he was actually doing was building a prison cell by cell, trading freedom for approval, autonomy for security, self-determination for the comfort of following a well-worn path. And now he's locked inside, and the same people who encouraged him to build this prison will shame him if he tries to escape it. Think about a typical day in this prison, really think about it. The married man wakes to an alarm because he has to be somewhere, do something, earn money to feed the machine. He doesn't wake naturally when his body is rested. He wakes when the schedule demands it. His morning routine isn't his own. It's coordinated with his wife's schedule, the kids' needs, the logistics of getting everyone where they need to be. He can't linger over coffee and thoughts. He can't move slowly through the morning. He's on a timeline that serves everyone's needs except his own. He goes to work, and work is often soul-crushing, but he can't leave because people depend on his income. He spends 8, 10, 12 hours doing things he doesn't care about to earn money, that's immediately consumed by obligations he didn't want, but feels responsible for. He comes home, and home isn't rest. It's the second shift. Kids need attention, homework needs supervising, dinner needs making or coordinating. The house needs maintaining. He's managing a small corporation, and he's the only employee who can't quit. His evening hours are consumed by duties, by needs, by the endless machinery of family life. When he finally has a moment to himself, he's too exhausted to do anything meaningful. So he medicates with television or alcohol or porn or video games, not because these things bring him joy, but because they're the only escape available from the constant demands. He goes to bed late because it's the only time he has to himself, even though he's too tired to enjoy it, and then he wakes early to start the cycle again. This is his life. Every day, every week, every year, until he's dead. This is the prison he built. And the most devastating part is that he'll defend it to anyone who suggests there might be another way to live. Nietzsche talked about the herd mentality, the way most people follow whatever everyone else is doing without questioning whether it serves their individual flourishing. Marriage is the ultimate herd behavior. Everyone does it, therefore it must be right. Your parents did it, your friends are doing it, society expects it. So you do it too without seriously examining whether this particular path serves your particular nature. The married man is living proof of herd mentality's destructive power. He didn't choose marriage based on deep self-knowledge and clear-eyed assessment of what would make him thrive. He chose it because it's what you're supposed to choose, because opting out would mark him as abnormal, because following the herd is easier than forging your own path. And now he's suffering the consequences of that herd following, locked in a structure that fits the average person, but not him specifically. And he can't even admit it's wrong, because that would mean admitting he was foolish enough to build his entire life around what other people told him to want, rather than figuring out what he actually wanted. Let's talk about how this prison destroys creativity, because this is one of its most insidious effects. Creative work requires time, space, freedom, and the ability to fail without catastrophic consequences. The married man has none of these. His time is fragmented and spoken for. His mental space is cluttered with obligations and concerns. His freedom is constrained by responsibilities, and he can't afford to fail because too many people depend on his success. So whatever creative potential he had before marriage, whatever artistic or intellectual or entrepreneurial impulses might have led to something significant, they die in the prison. Not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, through 1,000 small compromises, through years of not having time or energy or permission to pursue the things that make him feel alive. And this death of creativity, this slow strangling of whatever made him unique and interesting, it's one of the prices he pays for the security and social approval that marriage provides. He becomes predictable, stable, reliable, all the things a good husband and father is supposed to be. But predictability is the death of creativity. Stability is the enemy of innovation. Reliability means you can't take the risks necessary for genuine achievement. So the married man becomes less than he might have been, smaller than his potential, diminished by the very structure that's supposed to complete him. Where in the world are you watching this from right now? What city? What country? What cultural context? I'm asking because the prison of marriage looks slightly different depending on where you are, but the fundamental structure is remarkably consistent across cultures. Are you in Shanghai watching friends disappear into marriages that seem to erase their individuality? Are you in Dallas, observing the quiet desperation of suburban fathers who've traded everything for houses they can barely afford? Are you in Buenos Aires, London, Dubai, Bangkok, trying to figure out if there's a way to have partnership without building a prison? Drop your city in the comments because I'm genuinely curious how this message lands in different parts of the world, where men are waking up to the reality that Nietzsche described, that you can build your own prison so thoroughly that you forget you're imprisoned at all. Here's something the married man will never tell you directly, but you can see it in his behavior. He's forgotten what he wanted before the prison was built. Ask him about his dreams, his ambitions, what he'd do if he could do anything, and he'll look at you blankly. Not because he doesn't have answers, but because those answers are so buried under layers of obligation and compromise that he can't access them anymore. Before marriage, he might have wanted to travel extensively, or start a business, or master a craft, or live somewhere interesting or pursue knowledge for its own sake. But those wants have been replaced by shoulds. He should want stability. He should want to provide. He should want to be a good father and husband. And these shoulds have crowded out the wants so completely that he doesn't remember who he was before he became what he's supposed to be. That's what prison does. It doesn't just constrain your movement. It reshapes your mind until you can't imagine anything beyond the walls. Nietzsche wrote about the concept of eternal recurrence, the idea that you should live your life in such a way that you'd be willing to live it over and over again, exactly as it is, for eternity. It's a test of whether you're really living according to your values or just going through the motions. The married man fails this test spectacularly. If you told him he'd have to relive his marriage exactly as it's been, every argument, every compromise, every moment of suppressed desire and stifled autonomy for eternity, he'd be horrified. But he can't admit that because admitting it means admitting his entire life is a mistake he's making in slow motion. So instead, he tells himself he's happy. He performs gratitude. He posts the smiling family photos that hide the quiet desperation behind the scenes. And this gap between what he'd choose if he could choose freely and what he's actually living, that's the clearest indicator that he's in a prison. You don't need to pretend you're happy in a life you've genuinely chosen. You don't need to convince yourself and others that your choices are good when they actually serve your flourishing. The married man's constant need to justify and defend his life is evidence that he knows, on some level, that he's locked himself into something that's destroying him. Let me tell you about the specific ways this prison manifests in the body, because it's not just psychological. The married man's body knows it's imprisoned even when his mind denies it. Chronic stress from unending obligations manifests as high blood pressure, heart disease, metabolic dysfunction. The lack of genuine rest shows in his face, in his posture, in the way he moves through the world like he's carrying invisible weight. His cortisol is chronically elevated because the threats never stop, the concerns never resolve, the responsibilities never end. His testosterone often drops because the constant stress and lack of autonomy signal to his body that he's not in a position of strength or dominance, but rather subordination and service. His sleep is compromised because his nervous system never fully relaxes. Even his digestion is affected because stress diverts resources away from rest and digest functions toward fight-or-flight preparation. The prison isn't just mental. It's written into his physiology, changing his body chemistry, aging him prematurely, destroying his health in ways that won't become fully apparent until it's too late to reverse the damage. And the medical system will treat the symptoms, blood pressure medication and antidepressants and sleep aids, without ever addressing the root cause, that he's living in a structure his biology was never designed to handle. Think about the particular kind of resentment that builds in this prison. The married man resents his wife, though he'd never admit it, for being the face of his obligations. He resents his children for needing so much from him. He resents his friends who remained single for having the freedom he traded away. He resents his job for consuming his time, even though he needs the income. He resents himself for being weak enough to build this prison, stupid enough to walk into it voluntarily, cowardly enough to stay when he could technically leave. And this resentment, this poisonous accumulation of unexpressed frustration and rage, it has nowhere to go. He can't express it because that would make him a bad husband and father. He can't act on it because that would destroy everything. So it turns inward, manifesting as depression, anxiety, physical illness, the slow death of spirit that happens when you can't escape and you can't even admit you want to. Nietzsche called this the revenge of the powerless, the way people who can't act directly against their oppressors turn their rage inward or express it in passive-aggressive, self-destructive ways. The married man is both the oppressor and the oppressed, which makes the resentment even more toxic because there's no one to blame but himself. Here's what the prison does to sexuality, and this is one of its most cruel effects. Sexual desire requires freedom, mystery, genuine want rather than obligation. The married man's sexuality becomes completely domesticated. He has access to sex, theoretically, but it's sex as maintenance, as relationship work, as something negotiated and scheduled rather than spontaneous and wild. The mystery is gone because he knows everything about his wife, sees her in every unglamorous moment, witnesses the full reality of her humanity in ways that kill fantasy. The desire is complicated by resentment and obligation. Sex becomes another task on the list, another area where he might be failing, another source of conflict and disappointment, and his natural sexual energy, which should be a source of vitality and life force, gets channeled into this narrow, domesticated expression that satisfies neither him nor his wife. So he lives in sexual frustration even while having regular access to sex, because the sex available to him isn't the sex he wants. It's the sex that's appropriate for a married man, which is to say it's sex stripped of danger and spontaneity and genuine passion. And that sexual frustration, that constant awareness of desires he can't fulfill within the structure he's locked into, it's another layer of the prison he can't escape. Nietzsche believed that great men throughout history achieved greatness precisely because they refused domestication, refused the comfortable prison of normal life, refused to trade their potential for security. The married man has made the opposite choice. He's chosen domestication, chosen the prison, chosen security over potential. And the result is that whatever greatness might have been possible for him remains unrealized. Not because he lacked talent or capability, but because those qualities require freedom to develop, and freedom is exactly what he traded away. You can't achieve mastery when your time is fragmented. You can't create significant work when you're mentally exhausted from managing a household. You can't take the risks necessary for great achievement when you're responsible for other people's survival. So the married man settles for being adequate, being functional, being good enough at his job to keep earning but never great at anything, because greatness requires the kind of focused intensity that's incompatible with family obligations. And this settling, this acceptance of mediocrity because circumstances don't allow for excellence, it's one of the deepest forms of suffering the prison creates. To know you were capable of more, but the structure you built prevented you from realizing it, that's a special kind of tragedy. Let's talk about the illusion of choice that maintains the prison. The married man tells himself he's choosing to stay, that he could leave any time, that he's there because he wants to be. But this is self-deception. The choice to leave isn't a real choice when the consequences are catastrophic. Financial ruin from divorce, loss of daily access to children, social ostracism, being labeled a deadbeat or a failure, the destruction of everything he's built over years or decades. These consequences are so severe that the choice to leave isn't really a choice at all. It's choosing between staying in the prison or burning your entire life down and starting from nothing with massive debt and damaged relationships and a ruined reputation. So when the married man says he's choosing to stay, what he means is that he's choosing the less catastrophic option. But that's not the same as choosing freely from genuine preference. Real choice requires viable alternatives. The married man has no viable alternatives. He's locked in, and the locks are made of consequences he can't afford to face. So he stays, and he tells himself he's choosing. And this illusion of choice is one of the things that makes the prison bearable. If he admitted he's truly trapped, if he acknowledged that he has no real options, the despair would be overwhelming. Think about how the prison changes his relationship with time. Before marriage, time stretched ahead with possibility. He could imagine different futures, different versions of himself, different paths his life might take. Time was potential, opportunity, the raw material from which he could craft whatever life he wanted. After marriage, time becomes rigid and predetermined. He can see exactly how the next 20 years will unfold. Kids will grow up, needing more and more resources. He'll work the job he has or something similar. He'll maintain the house, manage the family, fulfill the role. There's no mystery, no possibility of radical change, no chance that something unexpected and transformative might happen. His future is mapped out, and the map shows nothing but more of the same, decade after decade, until death provides the only exit from the structure. And this loss of temporal possibility, this awareness that his future is already written, and it's not a future he's excited about, it's one of the deepest forms of despair the prison creates. To live without genuine hope for meaningful change, to know that tomorrow will be essentially like today stretched into infinity, that's not living. That's just waiting to die. Nietzsche wrote about the death of God and the need for humans to create their own values in the absence of divine authority. The married man has done the opposite. He's accepted prefabricated values, taken on purposes handed to him by society and biology, structured his life around meanings he didn't create. Be a good provider, raise successful children, maintain a stable marriage. These aren't values he derived from deep self-examination and understanding of his unique nature. They're the default values of his culture, and he's adopted them without question. And because he didn't create these values himself, they don't actually fit who he is. They're like a suit tailored for someone else that he's trying to wear convincingly. It binds in some places, hangs loose in others, never quite feels right. But he wears it anyway because it's what you're supposed to wear. And that misalignment between his adopted values and his actual nature, that's another source of the constant low-level suffering that characterizes life in the prison. You can't flourish while living according to values that contradict your essential being. Here's something you'll notice if you watch married men carefully. They've stopped learning and growing, not because they're not smart or capable, but because growth requires space and freedom, and the ability to make mistakes without catastrophic consequences. The married man can't afford to make mistakes because too many people depend on him being right. He can't afford to change significantly because he's locked into a role that requires him to be stable and predictable. He can't afford to explore new ideas or perspectives that might challenge his current life structure, because if those ideas took hold, he'd have to admit his entire life is built on assumptions he no longer believes. So he becomes intellectually frozen, locked into whatever beliefs and capabilities he had when he entered the prison, unable to evolve beyond them because evolution is too dangerous to the structure he's maintaining. And this intellectual stagnation, this slow death of curiosity and growth, it's one of the ways the prison kills you while you're still breathing. Let me tell you about the married man's relationship with regret, because it's one of the most painful aspects of the prison. He can't fully acknowledge his regrets because acknowledging them would mean admitting he made terrible choices that can't be unmade. So his regrets live in the shadows, emerging in unguarded moments, in the things he doesn't say, in the look that crosses his face when he sees a free man doing something he used to dream about. His regrets manifest as nostalgia for the person he was before marriage, before kids, before the prison was built. He remembers being sharper, more alive, more himself, and he mourns that person while pretending he's happy being who he's become. This split between mourning his past self and performing satisfaction with his current self, it's exhausting. It requires constant mental energy to maintain the fiction that he has no regrets, that he'd do it all again, that the trade was worth it, and the energy spent maintaining that fiction is energy he can't use for anything else, another way the prison depletes him. Nietzsche believed in the concept of amor fati, loving your fate, embracing everything that happens to you as necessary for who you are. The married man can't practice amor fati because he can't genuinely love his fate. He's trapped in a structure he built thinking it would make him happy, discovering it makes him miserable, and being unable to change it. So instead of amor fati, he practices what we might call false amor fati, performing love for his circumstances while privately wishing they were different. And this performance, this gap between authentic feeling and expressed feeling, it's another form of the ressentiment that Nietzsche identified as so poisonous to the soul. You can't flourish while constantly pretending to feel things you don't feel. You can't be healthy while performing happiness you don't experience. The married man's constant performance of satisfaction, despite inner desperation, that's killing him slowly, day by day, in ways that won't show up on medical tests, but are destroying his spirit nonetheless. Think about the married man's relationship with other men, particularly free men who've refused the prison. There's always a strange dynamic there. Sometimes it's envy disguised as concern. Don't you want to settle down? Don't you get lonely? When are you going to grow up? Sometimes it's hostility disguised as advice. You're missing out on life's greatest joys. You'll regret this when you're old. You're being selfish. Sometimes it's vicarious living, asking too many questions about the free man's life, living through his stories, needing to hear about freedom because he's forgotten what it feels like. But underneath all these dynamics is the married man's awareness that he made a choice the free man refused to make, and the free man's continued happiness and flourishing is evidence that the choice wasn't necessary, that the prison was optional, that he didn't have to trade freedom for social approval. The free man's existence is a constant reproach, a living reminder of the path not taken, and that's threatening to the married man's carefully maintained belief that he made the only possible choice, the right choice, the adult choice. Nietzsche wrote about the last man, the comfortable man who's traded everything meaningful for security and claims to have invented happiness. The married man is the last man. He's chosen comfort over growth, security over freedom, social approval over authentic living, and he claims he's happy, claims he's fulfilled, claims his life is meaningful. But Nietzsche despised the last man precisely because this claim is a lie, a comfortable fiction that prevents genuine human flourishing. The last man blinks and says we have invented happiness, but what he's actually invented is elaborate self-deception, a system of beliefs that makes his surrender palatable. The married man has invented happiness in exactly this sense. He's created a story about his life that makes it bearable, that transforms his prison into a palace, that reframes his chains as security. And the commitment to maintaining that story, to never questioning whether it's true, to attacking anyone who suggests it might be false, that's what makes him the last man, the end point of human development, the creature who's stopped striving and growing and becoming in favor of comfortable lies. Here's what happens to the married man's sense of self over time. He stops being a subject and becomes an object. He's not a person with wants and needs and purposes of his own. He's a function, provider, father, husband. His value is in what he does for others, not in who he is in himself. And this transformation from subject to object, from person to function, it's one of the most complete forms of dehumanization. He's become a tool, useful for certain purposes, valuable only insofar as he fulfills his role. And tools don't have inner lives. Tools don't have dreams. Tools don't matter except for their utility. The married man has turned himself into a tool, and the tragedy is that he did it voluntarily, thinking it was the path to meaning and fulfillment. Now he's stuck being useful while being essentially dead inside, performing his function, while his actual self withers from neglect. Let's talk about what happens when the married man finally admits, to himself if not to anyone else, that he's in a prison he can't escape. Some descend into addiction, using alcohol or drugs or porn or gambling to create temporary escapes from unbearable reality. Some develop what looks like depression but is actually just the rational response to being trapped. Some turn to affairs, seeking in secret what they can't have openly. Genuine desire, authentic connection, the feeling of being wanted rather than needed. Some just go numb, checking out emotionally while continuing to perform their roles mechanically. And some, a very few, find the courage to leave, to blow up their lives and start over, accepting the catastrophic consequences because even catastrophe is better than life in the prison. But most stay. Most find ways to make it bearable enough to continue. Most construct elaborate justifications for why the prison is actually good, actually necessary, actually the best possible option. And they live out their years in quiet desperation, dying slowly from the inside out, while maintaining appearances for the outside world. Nietzsche believed that authentic power comes from self-mastery, from living according to your own values, rather than reactive to others' expectations. The married man has surrendered this power completely. He lives reactively, responding to demands, fulfilling obligations, meeting expectations that originate from everyone except himself. He's become what Nietzsche would call a slave, not in the literal sense of legal ownership, but in the deeper sense of having no sovereignty over his own existence. His life is lived in service to agendas he didn't create, for purposes he didn't choose, according to scripts he didn't write. And this complete loss of sovereignty, this reduction to instrumentality, it's the ultimate expression of slave morality. The slave convinces himself that his servitude is actually virtue, that his powerlessness is actually responsibility, that his imprisonment is actually freedom. The married man has internalized slave morality so completely that he can't even see the bars of his cage anymore. Now I need you to understand something and then act on it. Drop a comment below with 5 words. I will not build prisons. Not because you're declaring you'll never marry or have relationships. Not because you're saying everyone in a relationship is imprisoned. But because you're declaring that you understand what Nietzsche understood, that you have to build your life consciously, according to your actual values and nature, rather than following default scripts that lead to comfortable prisons. 5 words. I will not build prisons. It's a declaration that you're going to examine every choice, every commitment, every obligation before accepting it, asking whether this serves your flourishing or whether it's another brick in a prison you'll spend the rest of your life trapped inside. Drop those words in the comments now, as a commitment to conscious living rather than sleepwalking into structures you'll regret. After you've done that, subscribe to this channel because you've discovered one of the few places willing to tell you the uncomfortable truth about how modern life is structured to trap you in prisons you build yourself while convincing you that imprisonment is freedom. This is where we examine existence through the lens of philosophy's most radical thinkers, where we question everything society insists is beyond question, where we give you the intellectual tools to see the cages before you walk into them. Hit that subscribe button because these ideas could literally save your life by preventing you from making irreversible choices that destroy your autonomy and authentic self. Give this video a like because engagement tells the algorithm that men deserve access to these perspectives, that uncomfortable truth matters more than comfortable lies. But here's what you really need to grasp. Everything we've explored about the prison of marriage and how men build their own cages through choices that seem reasonable until it's too late, this is just one dimension of a much larger pattern of how society structures itself to extract your freedom while making you grateful for the extraction. There are deeper truths waiting about power and purpose, and the specific traps designed to catch ambitious men and turn them into servile providers. There are insights about escape, about what's possible even after you've built the prison, about paths to freedom that most men never discover because they're too deep in the structure to see the exits. I can't reveal everything now because understanding builds progressively, because you need this foundation before the next level makes sense. But I can promise you this. If this examination of the marriage prison has opened your eyes to patterns you've been living inside without seeing, what comes next will show you the full blueprint of how control operates and where the actual freedom lies. Make sure you're here for it, because missing the next piece means staying blind to possibilities that could change everything.